Greetings, hello ladies and gentlemen, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new for 2020 Beasts of the Mesozoic Diabloceratops from the Ceratopsian series. If you remember, we pretty recently just took a look at the Mesozoic. This was the only other one that I backed on the backer kit. I actually just got another one in the mail though, so that one's coming up for review soon. I'm totally addicted to these things already. And yeah, this is one of my absolute favorites from the range, at least from initial impressions. But before we take a look at the figure, let's have a quick glance at the packaging. This review isn't going to be as in-depth as the Mesozoic review because the Diablo and the Mesozoic actually share the same exact body. The only difference between them is they have different paint application and different head sculpts. So anyway, here's the packaging for this one. We have a really cool, like, misty, almost grassland looking marshy area in the art in the back there, and that's captured pretty nicely here with some really cool trees in the background on the actual art, which is done by Raul Ramos. Yes, the Mesozoic art was done by Raul Ramos as well. And one thing that's funny on the Diablo's art, I don't know if you can even see it, but there is a slight pencil outline of the Diabloceratops that's still on the art, and it's captured on the trading card as well, which I thought was kind of funny. But anyway, this one has a red theme. The Mesozoic box had a green theme. You've seen everything here. It has some little facts on Diabloceratops on the back. There's the checklist for Wave 1. Really awesome packaging. I mean, can't ask for better packaging, really, for these things. It's so awesome. Here's the trading card for this one. The art is great. I love that it's shown in a bipedal pose, and that is actually achievable with the figure, and let's actually try to replicate this pose later in the video. And one thing that was brought to my attention between this review and the Mesozoic review was that the cards are a different size and material from the Raptor series cards. You can see they are much taller, more in line with the size of Eofaunus cards, and they are much more bendy. They feel like they're not traditional playing card material. Still, I don't know if I have a preference between either of these. They're both cool. I think the perfect in-between for me would be to have them at the size of the Diablo's card, but have them at the material of the Raptor's card. But anyway, still really cool inclusion. Alright, now let's bring out the big bad Diabloceratops itself. And just for first impressions, what a striking paint job on this figure. Once again, it has the same exact body sculpt as the Mesozoic, and same lower jaw, I'm pretty sure, as well. The only difference is the paint job and basically the entire head sculpt in this thing. And let's just address the colors first of all. Red color, I mean, you have to with Diabloceratops. It's in the name, come on. The devil horn face, it's gotta have the fiery reds and oranges on it. And I think it's used very tastefully here. I do like that the body is mainly in a black color, and you have the red sort of trickling in from the head in this horizontal stripe. And you also have a pair of really cool yellowed orange stripes going down on the spine of the animal there, which I think is really cool. And the slight dry brushings of the orange on the face is also a really nice addition as well. You also have on the back of the neck the inclusion of a cream color, which is also brought in on the frill patterns as well. I think it's the same color used for the horns and the claws on the figure. I also love that the horns are tipped in black with a nice little gradient going on. Really adds a lot to the overall look of the head. And one thing that I think is a brilliant addition on this figure for the coloration is the introduction of the blue. And it's used brilliantly on this figure. The stomach pattern is framed with almost this greenish blue, and it turns into more of a traditional turquoise in between the legs there, but then it turns more green going down the tail. It looks like there is a slight green dry brush just over that turquoise color, which I think really adds a lot and breaks up the colors a little bit, and it's not used distastefully. I could really see this figure looking unappealing if it had too much of this green and blue just splattered across it. But David Silva really knew how to apply it well here. And my favorite part of having this blue on the figure is just the addition of it on the frill pattern. Just with those little squiggly patterns going down the frill, met with the two cream patterns towards the bottom on either side, really just adds a lot to the head and brings attention to the frill. I think it's a really unique frill pattern as well, and just bringing that blue in once again against the red and the black is so striking. So yeah, this one still has one of my absolute favorite color schemes out of the entire Ceratopsian range. I just think it is so striking, and it also feels pretty natural as well in comparison to some of the other ceratopsians from the range. Now, if you caught my Mesozoic review, you'd see me go over all the articulation there. It's pretty much the same on this Diabloceratops. You have the lower jaw that can open and close. Doesn't open and close too wide, but it does look pretty good. It just clicks into 2 different positions for this figure. The head has a great range of articulation with that neck joint as well. The head can go all the way up and can go all the way down. There's a double ball joint at the base of the head and at the base of the neck. The legs can move at the feet, at the elbow, and at the shoulder. And that's pretty much the same for the back legs as well, except these pivot forward and back at the hips only. They can't really pivot in and out too much, even though there is a ball joint in there. They can move forward and back at the knee, although it is quite hard to move those joints, and then at the ankle and at the feet as well. And then the tail, of course, can spin around, double ball joint in there as well. And it has a little bit of mobility at the hips, but not too much. And this right here is actually my current chosen pose for display. I just really like the way this one looks, sort of in a casual motion with its head up high and alert. Oh, but these things are just so much fun to play with and find different poses for them. It's absolutely wonderful. But let's actually try to replicate the standing pose from the package art, because it's a lot easier than you think. I mean, look at that already. It already stands bipedally just by tipping it back, and that's pretty much the pose right there, actually. You just turn the head like that. I mean, look at that. That is just absolutely wonderful. And if we bring in the packaging for the back there, I mean, look at that. That's awesome. It's so cool that you can even achieve that. And you can definitely feel that some of the leg joints are much stiffer than the rest of the joints on the body, which I'm actually very happy with, because it definitely helps with stability with these figures for, you know, if you want them in a bipedal pose, or if you want them in a striding pose or whatever, with a couple legs off the ground, whatever you want. And for those of you who missed my Mesozoic review, we'll do a quick overview of the details. The sculptural details on the body, of course, are the same. It's the same sculpt. I do like the little tiny osteoderms running down in rows on the back there. The scales overall are very nicely done. One thing that is unfortunate is that the paint has rubbed off from the hinge joints on the front legs here after moving them a bit. You can see some remnants of the dark grayish black paint on there. It's not too detracting for me though, because those joints looked like they were molded in a tan color, which isn't too detracting from the rest of the color scheme, so that's totally fine with me. The sculpt for the feet on these ceratopsians are very impressive to me, because David Silva has managed to find a perfect in-between for posing these feet, because they look just as good on the ground as they do in midair. I mean, just look at it over here. So you can really tell a lot of thought went into designing the feet on these figures. And just for one last look at close-up details, here is a close-up of the head on this one. The head sculpt on this one is so satisfying. I think one of my favorite parts of the overall paint application on these ceratopsians are just the eye decals that they use. They look so glossy and lifelike, and they really bring the figure to life on a whole new level. And the interior of the mouth actually exhibits painted and sculpted teeth, which I did not notice until fairly recently, which is really awesome. You can barely see them back there. So you can really just tell that David Silva thought of everything with these figures. It's amazing. And once again, I just adore those little blue patterns on the face, and the dry brushing of that yellowed orange color on the face just really adds a lot. I also love the black stripe framing the eye. Oh, this figure is lovely. But anyway, I think that really covers my thoughts on this one as a whole. Currently, it's my favorite ceratopsian that I own from the ceratopsian range. I love this overall body size for the ceratopsians. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is there were a few paint chips on this one. There's one on the leg there, if you can even see it when it came out of the box. Another tiny one on the midsection there. But it's mainly on the black parts of the body, so that's an easy fix for me. Just take some black matte acrylic paint and dab it up. But if we stretch this one out to get just an overall length of what it is in a standard pose, if you're wondering how large this one is, in terms of the length from the tip of the snout to the tip of the tail, on average it's about 10 inches long, and that is about 26 centimeters. In terms of the height, the highest point at the top of those horns, we are looking at about 4.5 inches, which is about 13.5 centimeters. And for a quick comparison, here is the recently reviewed Beasts in the Mesozoic Diabloceratops. I love the way these two contrast each other on the shelf. You can't really tell at first glance that they share the same exact body sculpt just because of how striking each of these color schemes are. Personally, I prefer the colors on the Diabloceratops still. I still really love the colors on the Mesozoic for how tropical and exotic they are. I just think it's such a different looking figure. It's so eye-catching on the shelf. But it's certainly not the most natural color scheme that David Silva has given us for the Ceratopsians. But that's the main reason I got both of these together, is that I thought they would complement each other really nicely. Plus, Mesozoic is one of my favorite genuses, so regardless of what colors it has, I had to get a figure of this one from Beasts of the Mesozoic. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for this review of the Beasts of the Mesozoic Diabloceratops. Absolutely beautiful figure. If you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend that you do so. Let's bring out the packaging for the outro as well. If you want to get one of these for yourself, make sure to go to Creative Beast's website. I'll put a link down below in the description so you can check it out. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Let me know what you think of this one down below, and let me know if you managed to pick up any of the Ceratopsians yet and how you're enjoying them. See you guys in my next video. Take care, and bye-bye.